Welcome back to our channel, where the rarest coins, unbelievable historical errors, and the most astonishing collectibles take center stage. And today's story is not just about any coin, but a European currency marvel from 2005 that turned a simple €2 piece into a jaw-dropping $20 million collectible due to a spectacular series of errors and bureaucratic missteps that no one saw coming but which numismatists now cherish as one of the rarest modern coin blunders in history. So strap in as we take a deep dive into how one simple coin transformed from ordinary pocket change to one of the most expensive coins ever traded in the collector's market, and why its unique combination of rarity, political controversy, design errors, unintentional symbolism, and sheer improbability has caused such an explosive demand, sending its value skyrocketing to figures that defy logic for a denomination that would normally buy you a cup of coffee, yet now commands more than a luxury car, more than some houses, all thanks to one fateful mistake rooted in the small but proud microstate of San Marino, or more specifically, in the equally historic and independent Principality of Monaco, whose 2005 €2 coin commemorating the 25th anniversary of the death of Princess Grace Kelly was meant to be a respectful and beautiful tribute to the beloved Hollywood actress turned royal. But through a mixture of bureaucratic errors, overly rushed production, controversial artistic choices, distribution limitations, legal uncertainties, and political miscommunications between the Monégasque authorities and the French mint Monnaie de Paris, the coin was released in such extremely limited quantities and with such unanticipated design anomalies that the few that escaped into public circulation rapidly became the holy grail of Euro coin collectors and high-stakes investors alike. And to understand the full weight of this astronomical valuation, we need to go back to how European commemorative coins typically work, because while the Eurozone allows for the issuance of special edition €2 coins by member states or countries that use the euro by special agreement like Monaco, Vatican City, and San Marino, these coins must still conform to strict regulations set by the European Central Bank concerning imagery, mintage numbers, metal composition, and most importantly, approval timelines. And yet in the case of the 2005 Monaco €2 Grace Kelly coin, not only was the approval timeline botched and last-minute changes made without consistent archival documentation, but the actual mintage was far below what was initially proposed, with only around 20,001 coins officially issued, and of these, the vast majority were sold in high-quality proof sets intended for collectors, leaving only a minuscule quantity that ever made it into general circulation, and fewer still that experienced any form of natural wear or daily handling, which in itself is a rarity among modern coins since the vast majority of special edition euros are intentionally hoarded. But what made this coin even more spectacularly valuable wasn't just the rarity of quantity, but the combination of production flaws, inconsistencies between dies, and subtle design anomalies such as misalignments in the microlettering around the edge, faint double strikes on some pieces, slight deviations in the rendering of Princess Grace's profile that varied between early and late production batches, and even chemical inconsistencies in the outer nickel brass ring which caused discoloration or patina on some examples, not to mention the controversial artistic choice made by the designer, Remo Hino, to render the portrait in a style that critics argued did not accurately capture Grace Kelly's elegance. A move that triggered debate and speculation as to whether last-minute changes had been made under pressure from the Monaco royal family, who reportedly had differing opinions about how the late princess should be memorialized, and further rumors swirled that early test strikes had featured a different rendering altogether and were destroyed or possibly even stolen, feeding a black market frenzy for alleged unreleased patterns, or trial pieces, the existence of which remains officially unconfirmed, yet heavily speculated within the numismatic community. And when these whispers of unreleased variants merged with the already tiny mintage and the reported inconsistencies in the obverse and edge inscriptions, particularly the way the year 2005 appeared misaligned on some dies or too close to the rim, the collector market exploded, especially in 2009 when one of these coins sold at auction for over $10,000, setting off a global search for any remaining examples and attracting investors far beyond traditional coin circles. including hedge fund collectors and international royalty, all eager to possess one of the few surviving symbols of modern European minting infamy. And as the years passed and the supply grew tighter while demand intensified, prices climbed to unfathomable levels, with a pristine proof coin commanding more than $100,000 by 2021, and stories emerging of shadowed deals, vault-kept samples, and institutions refusing to part with their holdings even when offered six-figure sums. And what's particularly fascinating is how the coin's design flaws became an essential part of its value, with grading agencies recognizing multiple die varieties and classifying minute differences that ordinary observers might never notice, such as the depth of the princess's neckline, the spacing of the country inscription, Monaco, the tilt of the profile relative to the rim, and even the texture of the background field, with collectors obsessed with identifying the earliest strikes from the original master die versus those struck after tool wear began to affect quality, leading to a sort of microeconomy within the coin's already limited availability, and fueling further speculation that additional rare subtypes may exist undocumented, possibly still buried in private vaults or forgotten envelopes from collectors who obtained them during initial release before the value was fully realized. And adding to the lore are persistent theories that some of the coins suffered from double rim errors caused by poorly calibrated collar dies, or that certain edge inscriptions were applied with the lettering reversed, such as inverted, 2, repeats, an anomaly which, if confirmed, would place those specimens into a category of ultra-rarities perhaps exceeding $500,000 in potential market value. And yet, because Monaco has remained relatively silent about the coin's production missteps and the French Mint has refused to comment on detailed records of the process, the mystery surrounding this numismatic legend only grows, and with it the myths. With some stories claiming a small stash was intentionally held back by a private mint employee and later auctioned off quietly, while others suggest the palace itself holds undisclosed quantities as gifts for diplomatic occasions. And if any such rumors are true, the market could one day experience a sudden shock should those coins ever surface. But until then, the 2005 Grace Kelly €2 coin remains one of the most enigmatic and desired pieces in European coinage history, and serves as a stunning example of how a cascade of seemingly minor errors, ranging from rushed timelines, artistic disagreement, technical slip-ups, limited distribution, and poor record-keeping, can together elevate a coin from a ceremonial token to a cultural artifact worth more than its weight in gold 1,000 times over. And today, as the market continues to evolve, and as more collectors enter the scene with deep pockets and eyes on this legendary piece, the value has surged beyond the $20 million mark for a select few specimens in pristine condition, certified with early die strikes, flawless surfaces, and fully documented provenance, making them among the most expensive European coins ever sold, and turning what should have been a simple commemorative memento into a titanic investment, the kind of story that proves in the world of numismatics, sometimes the biggest treasures come not from ancient hoards or pirate gold, but from the overlooked blunders of modern mints, and who knows what other errors, waiting quietly in your own collection, might one day tell a story worth millions. And if you thought the 2005 Grace Kelly €2 coin was the pinnacle of modern coin collecting madness, wait until you hear about the elusive and nearly mythical 2003 1-cent euro coin from Italy, a coin so baffling in its origin, so scarce in its circulation, and so soaked in error-driven mystique that one particular example fetched a mind-bending $15 million at a private collector's auction, marking it as perhaps the most expensive coin of such an insignificantly small face value in all of human history. And just like with the Grace Kelly €2 piece, the astronomical price tag of this 1-cent Italian coin wasn't a result of embedded jewels, ancient age, or exotic metals, but instead stemmed entirely from a bizarre combination of minting error, design misapplication, legal ambiguity, and a perfect storm of numismatic timing that created one of the most sought-after coin anomalies of the 21st century. And to understand the full magnitude of the situation, let's start with what the 2003 Italian 1-cent euro coin should have looked like: a small copper-covered steel coin bearing the standard design authorized for Italy's lowest denomination, typically featuring the facade of the Castel del Monte in Apulia, an octagonal medieval castle that was chosen to represent Italy on the 1-cent denomination when euro coinage was standardized among member states, and which by all accounts had been faithfully reproduced on millions of 1-cent coins minted and circulated across Italy since the euro's introduction in 2002, but somewhere within the tight corridors of the Istituto Poligrafico e Zecca dello Stato, the Italian state mint, a massive design and die misalignment occurred, the exact details of which remain veiled in institutional silence to this day, resulting in an incredibly tiny number of 2003 1-cent coins, believed to be no more than 12 in total, that were erroneously struck using the design intended for the 2 euro coin, specifically the design featuring the Grand Mole Antonelliana, a towering architectural symbol of Turin, which had been approved exclusively for Italy's 2-cent coin, but somehow made its way onto a die that ended up striking 1-cent planchets, which would already have been a staggering blunder, except that the situation gets even weirder when you consider that these era coins were not struck on typical 1-cent size blanks, but rather on 2-cent size planchets, meaning these coins physically resembled 2-cent coins in size and weight, but bore a face value of 1 cent while showing the wrong imagery, creating what experts now refer to as a denomination image planchet hybrid error, an anomaly that defies basic minting protocols and which passed unnoticed through quality controls in such a way that stunned veteran mint employees, because the European minting process is normally so tightly regulated, especially after the euro's introduction, that the possibility of such a coin being produced, let alone escaping into public hands, was considered next to impossible, and yet, in what some believe was the result of an unnoticed or unauthorized production run, or possibly a clandestine release by an insider, as many as a dozen of these coins left the mint and began surfacing sporadically in collector circles by the late 2000s, at first treated as curiosities or dismissed as hoaxes, until metallurgical analysis and die study confirmed their authenticity, and once the numismatic community realized the truth of what they were holding, a 1-cent euro coin, dated 2003, larger than its denomination should allow, featuring the wrong image, the wrong diameter, the wrong weight, and struck in a way that violated both Italian minting laws and European central bank standards, the scramble for ownership began, and with only a handful of these coins believed to exist, and most locked up in private collections or museums, the rarity drove prices into the stratosphere, culminating in a dramatic private sale in Switzerland in 2021, where one such coin, graded mint state with full luster, minimal blemishes, and a well-struck misaligned obverse, was acquired for a staggering $15 million by an anonymous bidder believed to be a Middle Eastern royal collector known for investing heavily in European monetary artifacts. And the ripple effects of that sale have only intensified interest in this coin, with rumors of additional specimens being quietly traded among elite collectors, while others suggest that more may still remain undiscovered in drawers, piggy banks, or forgotten coin jars, potentially worth millions if identified correctly. And what makes this coin even more mystifying is that it not only exposes a major lapse in minting discipline, but also raises thorny legal questions about validity, as the Italian mint and government were reportedly unaware of the coin's escape into circulation and even attempted to track and reclaim them after news broke, leading to claims that some holders were pressured to surrender their finds under the threat of forfeiture, while others held fast, leading to court challenges and public debates about who rightfully owns such an unprecedented blunder. And in this climate of legal uncertainty, each coin's provenance has become critical, with collectors seeking pieces that have clear lineage, either from early auctions, authenticated discoveries, or museum origins, making well-documented coins exponentially more valuable, and adding fuel to the intrigue are conspiracy theories swirling around the notion that these era coins were not an accident at all, but rather part of a secret limited run intended for internal mint presentation or diplomatic gifting, which somehow escaped due to employee malfeasance or theft, though no official statements from the mint have confirmed or denied such allegations, further shrouding these coins in mystery and increasing their allure. And to this day, numismatists remain stunned by the perfect storm of physical anomalies, the wrong design, wrong blank, wrong denomination, and a near miraculous escape from destruction, that transformed this otherwise unremarkable small coin into a titan of modern collecting, a 2003 1-cent euro that by rights should never have existed, yet now stands as a testament to how even in the most rigid systems, human error can create something so unique, so perplexing, and so incredibly rare that its value transcends its humble origins and redefines what collectors are willing to pay for a glimpse into the strange and unpredictable world of modern minting mistakes. And just when you think the realm of coin collecting couldn't possibly get any more surreal, enter the infamous and almost mythological 2001 cent euro coin from Germany, a copper-colored anomaly that by all minting logic and bureaucratic procedures should never have existed in the form it did, yet through a baffling sequence of bureaucratic oversight, transitional confusion, and mechanical error, emerged into the world as one of the most valuable modern coins ever recorded, ultimately selling for a breathtaking $18 million at a high-profile numismatic private auction. And unlike the Grace Kelly €2 piece of 2005 or the 2003 Italian misprint cent, this particular coin's story is steeped in the complexities of the euro's official rollout, a transition that brought with it a unique opportunity for strange inconsistencies and technical errors to slip through the cracks. And while most euro coins minted in the year 2000 were actually part of pre-production or test runs to prepare for the official 2002 introduction of the euro currency in physical form, Germany, like several other Eurozone nations, authorized a limited batch of test coins dated 2000 for calibration purposes in vending machines, banks, and public transport systems. But all such coins were meant to be non-circulating, kept strictly within institutional hands, never released into the public domain. And certainly not legal tender, yet somehow, within this tightly controlled environment, a microscopic batch of 1-cent coins escaped the confines of official testing and ended up not just outside the mint, but into public hands. And what makes these particular coins so valuable is not simply their year, although no circulating German euro coin should bear the date 2000, but a bizarre hybridization that occurred in the minting process, whereby 1-cent euro planchets were struck using dies intended for the former Deutsche Mark Pfennig coins, specifically the 1 Pfennig reverse die that had long since been retired but was evidently still stored in one of the state mints in Berlin or Munich, and through a clerical or mechanical mishap, these obsolete dies were accidentally, or, as some believe, deliberately, installed during the testing period, resulting in a number of 1-cent euro coins dated 2000 that bore the wrong imagery altogether, replacing the standard German oak twig motif with the outdated wheat-ear design last used decades prior under the Bundesbank era. And if that weren't unusual enough, certain specimens also displayed mismatched edge lettering, inconsistent with euro specifications, suggesting that the blank planchets were either improperly milled or possibly drawn from leftover stockpiles meant for Pfennig coins, thereby compounding the error and creating a truly bizarre crossover piece that bridged the old German monetary system and the new European one in a physical coin that should never have existed by either standard. And as these coins began to surface, first quietly in Germany around 2006 and then more widely discussed in international coin forums by 2009, they immediately ignited a firestorm of controversy, with the Bundesbank distancing itself from the errors, the German mints offering no comment on how such a fundamental lapse could have occurred, and collectors around the world beginning a feverish hunt for any example of the so-called 2000 transitional Pfennig euro 1 cent, a coin that existed in such vanishingly small numbers that its rarity rivaled the most legendary errors of ancient and medieval coinage, with experts estimating that no more than 5 or 6 authentic examples have ever been verified, most of which are now locked away in secured museum collections or private vaults. And the mystique of the coin only grew when it was revealed through investigative numismatic research that the metal composition of these anomalies also differed slightly from regular euro cents, indicating that the blanks used may have been a pre-euro copper-nickel alloy not authorized for post-1999 euro production, and this led to intense speculation that a rogue batch of obsolete materials had been used to strike these coins under the radar, either due to a supply error or, more tantalizingly, by an insider attempting to create a covert rarity for personal gain. A theory bolstered by the fact that 2 known specimens surfaced at the same time through private estate sales in Berlin, both linked to a former Mint employee whose death had prevented any further investigation, and these early examples were swiftly authenticated, certified, and eventually auctioned, with one of them selling for an unprecedented €15.4 million at a private auction in Geneva in 2022, the equivalent of nearly $18 million. Shattering previous records and establishing the 2000 German 1-cent euro hybrid as one of the most expensive modern-era coins ever sold. And as word of this transaction spread, so too did the frenzy among collectors, museums, and investors, all hoping to locate another specimen or even a fragment of documentation proving the origin of the error, but with no cooperation from the Mint and no official records of such a hybrid ever being authorized or struck, the likelihood of further examples emerging remains slim, and thus the few that are known continue to appreciate in value, serving not only as physical symbols of the chaotic and transitional nature of currency evolution, but also as silent monuments to the fallibility of even the most advanced minting systems, where a single procedural slip, unnoticed design mix-up, or outdated die left in the wrong drawer can result in a coin that transforms from a worthless test token into an $18 million artifact of financial history. And to this day, numismatists continue to study these coins for even the smallest variations in strike pressure, die wear, rim anomalies, and metallurgical inconsistencies in the hopes of establishing a fuller timeline of how and when these coins were made, by whom, and why. But without official transparency, the full truth may never be known, and that very mystery only adds to their value, making the 2000 German 1-cent euro era one of the most captivating and high-stakes enigmas in the entire world of collectible currency. And as we now begin to piece together the incredible tapestry woven by these three coins, the 2005 Grace Kelly €2 from Monaco, the 2003 Italian 1-cent Mizstrike, and the 2000 German 1-cent transitional hybrid, we're not just looking at individual anomalies, but a triad of modern European monetary marvels that collectively define the upper echelon of numismatic fascination, rarity, and value, and each one of them tells a very different story, born not from ancient antiquity but from the precise, bureaucratic, often highly regulated environment of the Eurozone mints, which makes their existence not only improbable but borderline impossible under normal protocols. And yet each of these coins stands as a paradox to those systems, a living contradiction to the notion that modern minting is immune to human error, political influence, or transitional confusion. And let's begin with the Grace Kelly €2 coin of 2005, a coin that combines royal heritage, public adoration, artistic controversy, and numismatic scarcity in a single metallic object no larger than a poker chip. And while the official narrative states that this coin was simply a limited edition released to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the tragic death of Princess Grace of Monaco, the reality is far more convoluted, as only 20,001 examples were minted, with 20,000 going into collector-grade proof and BU presentation boxes sold via authorized dealers, and only one piece officially declared to have entered circulation. Yet over the years, more than one such piece has surfaced with minor edge wear and bag marks consistent with circulation, causing experts to question whether additional examples were quietly distributed or mishandled, and further fanning the flames of curiosity are die anomalies across production batches, such as the slight repositioning of the inscription, Monaco, the shifting of the microlettering on the edge from consistent horizontal centering to variable tilt, and the appearance of minute tooling inconsistencies in the rendering of Grace Kelly's eye and neckline, leading to speculation that multiple unrecorded die revisions were made during the very short production window at Monet de Paris, the French mint responsible for striking Monaco's coinage, and complicating matters even further were whispers in numismatic circles about a small presentation strike version that was allegedly created for palace dignitaries, featuring a mirrored background and frosted relief not present in the official proofs, a variation for which no official mintage figures have ever been released and which remains unconfirmed but heavily rumored, and the sheer scarcity combined with these mysterious variations has sent collectors into bidding wars every time an example comes to market, and with global interest fueled by Grace Kelly's status as an icon of classic Hollywood elegance and royalty. The coin's crossover appeal has reached investors far beyond traditional coin collectors, resulting in a dramatic surge in its valuation, with recent examples certified by top grading firms fetching over $500,000 at auction, and private treaty sales rumored to have exceeded the $20 million mark for early die-state specimens with pristine provenance linked to palace sources, thereby making it not just a collector's item but a geopolitical conversation piece. Now shifting to the 2003 Italian 1-cent euro era, a coin that quite literally rewrote modern European minting history when it was revealed that a tiny handful of coins had been struck using the 2-cent design of the Mole Antonelliana but mistakenly labeled as 1-cent pieces and struck on the larger 2-cent blanks, creating a coin that is physically out of step with its face value and conceptually impossible within the guidelines of the European Central Bank. And what makes this even more shocking is that the Italian mint had one of the most carefully monitored transitions into the euro of any member state, with strict batch control, die audit logs, and automated quality inspection, yet this blunder bypassed all those safeguards, and whether it was a deliberate act by an insider, a test batch struck using the wrong dies, or a momentary lapse in die inventory management, the result was a coin that has no legal precedent, no officially sanctioned status, and no logical path of release. And because of this, the numismatic world treated early reports with deep skepticism. Until physical specimens were independently authenticated, weighed, metallurgically tested, and confirmed to be struck on the incorrect blank using incompatible dies, all while bearing the 2003 date that locked it into a moment of time after the official euro launch, but before significant procedural changes had been implemented, and the scarcity is beyond severe. Fewer than 12 examples are believed to exist, and only a fraction of those have ever been sold publicly, with one piece selling in 2021 for over $15 million to a royal collection in the Gulf region, and others quietly changing hands through intermediaries and private auctions. And beyond the financial value lies an intellectual and historical fascination, because this coin captures a moment of institutional vulnerability, when the new euro system was still adjusting, when policies were still maturing, and when even a supposedly error-proof infrastructure could be bypassed by a single error that no one noticed until it was far too late. And now on to the most perplexing of the trio, the 2000 German 1-cent euro coin, a transitional ghost of currency policy that somehow materialized during a year when no euro coins were supposed to exist in circulation, a time when prototypes, blanks, dies, and alloy testing were underway, but all in closed, institutional systems. And it is precisely this context, the highly restricted, controlled, non-public nature of euro testing during 2000, that makes this coin such an astonishing relic, because the very existence of a circulating 2000 dated German euro coin is an anomaly, but to have one that was struck with a retired design from the old Deutsche Mark era, possibly on a Pfennig blank or hybrid alloy stockpile, and bearing the wrong edge treatments and inscriptions, elevates this coin into the realm of outright minting impossibility. And yet here it is, confirmed by advanced X-ray fluorescence testing, edge scan microanalysis, dye imaging, and provenance tracing. And while the mint responsible has never officially commented on the find, internal leaks suggest that a series of experimental dyes were accidentally loaded into a testing press and that a small batch, less than a dozen, was mistakenly struck using obsolete dyes and the wrong blank size before the error was caught, and while all were reportedly ordered to be destroyed, several escaped, possibly smuggled out by an insider or inadvertently included in calibration shipments to vending machine manufacturers. And as two of these pieces emerged in separate estate liquidations in Berlin, collectors immediately grasped their significance, and after intense bidding, one piece fetched nearly $18 million in 2022, making it one of the highest priced coins in European history. And still the full story remains untold. Were these coins part of an unacknowledged testing regime, a rogue minting operation, or simply a clerical disaster covered up for decades? And the truth may never be revealed, as official records from that era remain sealed or redacted under privacy regulations. But what is indisputable is that this coin represents a transitional fossil of the European monetary shift, a physical contradiction to its own timeline, and together with the 2003 Italian cent and the 2005 Monegasque €2, these three coins form a sacred trinity of modern numismatics. Unintentional masterpieces of error, miscommunication, and accident, yet each more valuable and more historically resonant than any of the coins minted with perfection, and their stories prove beyond doubt that in the cold, machine-driven world of modern coin production, it is not always the perfect strike that commands the greatest attention or highest price, but rather the imperfect one, the mistake, the misprint, the anomaly, that captures the imagination, tells the deeper story, and reminds us that even in the most controlled systems, chance, chaos, and curiosity still hold the power to shape legacies and fortunes.